In the vast emptiness of space, a faint signal drifted through the darkness. It was weak, almost lost among the static, but it carried a message that sent shivers down the spines of those who heard it. "We are alone. They have abandoned us." The words were broken and unclear, like someone struggling to speak under unimaginable strain. But one thing was certain. This was a cry for help. Back on Earth, in a quiet room filled with blinking screens and humming machines, a group of scientists listened to the recording over and over again. None of them could explain how such a signal had reached them or where exactly it was coming from. What made it even stranger was that humanity hadn't sent any missions into deep space for decades. Resources were scarce, governments argued constantly, and people had more pressing problems closer to home. So why was there a distress call coming from so far away? The decision was made quickly. If this was real, if someone, or something, was out there needing help, then Earth had to respond. A small team was chosen to investigate. Among them was Alex Carter, an engineer known for his ability to fix anything with just a wrench and determination. He wasn't thrilled about leaving Earth, but he knew the mission mattered. Then there was Mia Lopez, a biologist whose eyes sparkled whenever she talked about the possibility of finding new life forms. She saw this as her chance to prove that the universe held wonders beyond what anyone could imagine. Joining them was Daniel Brooks, a pilot whose face rarely showed emotion. On the outside, he seemed calm and collected, but inside, he wrestled with guilt. Years ago, he'd been part of another space mission that ended in disaster. Ever since, he'd avoided anything that reminded him of that failure. Yet here he was, climbing back into a spacecraft, hoping this time would be different. Lastly, there was Dr. Laura Bennett, a linguist brought along to decipher any messages or symbols they might find. Her specialty was understanding languages, whether human or alien, and everyone hoped her skills would come in handy. The team gathered at a launch site surrounded by barren desert. Their ship, the Odyssey Star Asterisk, stood tall against the horizon. It wasn't fancy or cutting edge. It was old, patched together from parts scavenged from other vessels. Still, it was their only ticket to wherever the signal had come from. As they strapped themselves in, each member felt a mix of excitement and dread. They didn't know what awaited them out there, but they couldn't ignore the call. The journey began quietly. Days passed without much happening, except for the occasional check-in with mission control back on Earth. Inside the ship, conversations were sparse. Alex spent most of his time tinkering with the engines, making sure everything ran smoothly despite the ship's age. Mia pored over data logs, searching for clues about the signal's origin. Daniel stayed focused on flying, his hands steady on the controls. And Laura, she stared out the window at the endless expanse of stars, wondering if they were truly alone. Finally, after weeks of travel, they reached the coordinates of the distress signal. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual, just empty space stretching out in every direction. Then, as they scanned the area more closely, they spotted something, a battered derelict spacecraft floating silently. Its hull was scarred with dents and burn marks, evidence of years spent drifting aimlessly. When they read the nameplate, their blood ran cold. Aurora Dawn asterisk. This was no alien vessel. It was human. Confusion rippled through the team. How could a ship like this exist out here? Who had built it, and why hadn't anyone heard of it before now? As they prepared to board the mysterious craft, one thought lingered in all their minds. Whatever happened to the crew of the Aurora Dawn asterisk, it couldn't have been good. The team approached the Aurora Dawn asterisk cautiously, their helmets reflecting the dim light of their ship's floodlights. The derelict vessel looked like a ghost floating in the endless blackness of space. Its surface was pockmarked with damage, and parts of it seemed to have been torn away by some unknown force. As they drew closer, Alex muttered under his breath, "This thing shouldn't even be here." Mia nodded silently, her heart pounding. She had studied old records before leaving Earth, but nothing mentioned a ship called Aurora Dawn asterisk. It was as if the spacecraft had been erased from history. Daniel brought the Odyssey Star alongside it, carefully matching its speed. Once docked, the team suited up and prepared to board. Laura glanced at the others, her voice calm but firm. Stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into. Inside the Aurora Dawn the air was thick with silence. The only sounds were the soft hum of their suits and the occasional creak of metal shifting in the vacuum of space. The walls were cold to the touch, and dust coated every surface. It felt like stepping into a tomb. Alex led the way, shining his flashlight down narrow corridors. Power's out, he said, scanning the darkened panels. Whatever happened here, it wasn't recent. As they moved deeper into the ship, Maya noticed something strange. Symbols etched into the walls. They weren't part of the ship's original design. Someone had carved them deliberately. Some looked like numbers, others like shapes that didn't make sense. What are these? She asked, running her gloved fingers over the markings. Laura leaned in for a closer look. Could be a code or maybe an attempt to communicate. Her voice trailed off as she took photos of the symbols. Daniel kept glancing over his shoulder, feeling uneasy. He couldn't shake the sensation that they were being watched, though he knew it was impossible. Still, the emptiness of the ship pressed down on him, heavy and suffocating. Then they found the first clue. A log recorder lying on the floor. Alex picked it up and activated it. Static crackled before a voice emerged, weak and trembling. Day 75. Supplies running low. No response from command. The recording cut off abruptly, leaving the group staring at each other in stunned silence. Laura played another log, this one clearer. A woman's voice spoke urgently. Something's out there. Outside the ship. We can't see it, but it's watching us. Lights flicker when it moves. I don't think we're alone anymore. The words sent a chill through everyone. Maya clenched her fists, trying to stay focused. If something was out there, where did it go? And why hasn't anyone come looking for them? They pressed on, finding more recordings scattered throughout the ship. Each one painted a picture of growing despair. The crew of the Aurora Dawn had started strong, hopeful about their mission. But as days turned into weeks, then months, their tone shifted. Supplies dwindled, systems failed, and paranoia set in. One man's voice broke as he whispered, "They've abandoned us. Nobody's coming." Finally, they reached the bridge. Papers littered the floor, along with empty ration packs and medical supplies. In the center of the room was a large console, partially smashed. Alex knelt to examine it. "Looks like they tried to send a distress signal," he said, "but it never went through, or maybe nobody heard it." Laura found a final log tucked beneath the console. When she played it, the speaker sounded defeated. "We messed up. Whatever's out there, we scared it, or hurt it. Now it won't leave us alone. If anyone finds this, tell them. Sorry." The message ended with a long, hollow beep. Mia sank onto a nearby chair, her mind racing. What could have done this? Was it aliens, or just bad luck? No one answered. The question hung in the air like a weight too heavy to lift. As they made their way back to the docking bay, Daniel paused to glance out a cracked viewport. Beyond the glass, the stars gleamed coldly. For a moment, he thought he saw movement, a shadow flitting past, but when he blinked, it was gone. Shaking his head, he followed the others back to the Odyssey Star *. Whatever had happened to the Aurora Dawn *, one thing was clear. They needed answers. And soon. Back aboard the Odyssey Star *, the team gathered in the cramped common area to share what they had discovered. The mood was heavy, like storm clouds pressing down on them. Alex placed the log recorder on the table, its blinking light casting faint shadows across their faces. "This doesn't make sense," he said, rubbing his temples. "Why would Earth send a ship out here and then forget about it? Something's missing." Mia nodded slowly, still thinking about the strange symbols carved into the walls of the asterisk Aurora Dawn asterisk. Those markings, they weren't random. Someone was trying to say something. Maybe to us, or maybe to whatever was outside. She pulled up the photos she'd taken earlier, showing the others. The shapes looked almost like a mix of math equations and primitive drawings. Laura leaned in closer, her brow furrowed. It could be a language, or an attempt at one. But who made it? And why? Daniel stayed quiet, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. He couldn't stop thinking about the feeling of being watched inside the derelict ship. It wasn't just paranoia. It felt real, like eyes boring into him from the darkness. Finally, he spoke. What if whatever scared them is still out there? What if we're not alone right now? His words hung in the air, making everyone uneasy. Laura shook her head firmly. We need to focus on facts, not fear. There's no proof of anything hostile nearby. All we know is that the crew of the asterisk Aurora Dawn asterisk thought something was watching them. That doesn't mean it was dangerous. Alex interrupted, pointing at the log recorder. Dangerous or not, they didn't survive. Whatever happened, it broke them, mentally and physically. We can't ignore that. He glanced around the group. But I found something else while you were looking at those symbols. Hidden behind a panel in the engine room, a set of encrypted files. If we can crack them, maybe we'll get some answers. Laura's eyes lit up. Encrypted files. That could tell us everything. Who they were, what their mission was, maybe even where they came from. She grabbed her tablet and began working on decoding the data. Hours passed as the rest of the team waited anxiously. Mia paced back and forth, while Daniel stared out the window at the endless void. Alex tinkered with the ship's systems, using busywork to distract himself. Finally, Laura let out a soft gasp. I've got part of it. The screen showed fragmented text and images. One piece stood out. Coordinates leading to a nearby planet. This must be where they were heading before things went wrong, Laura said. Her voice grew quieter. And look at this. She pointed to another section of the file. It described contact with an intelligent species, beings described as luminous and peaceful. Mia's breath caught. Aliens? They actually met aliens. Laura nodded. It seemed so, but something went wrong. Miscommunication, maybe, or mistrust. Either way, it ended badly for the asterisk Aurora Dawn asterisk. The revelation left the group silent. After a moment, Alex broke the quiet. So what do we do? Follow the coordinates? Risk running into the same thing they did. His tone was skeptical, but curiosity burned in his eyes. Maya spoke up, her voice steady. We have to go. This might be our only chance to understand what happened, and to find help if we need it. Daniel hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. She's right. Sitting here won't change anything. Let's see where this takes us. With the decision made, Alex plotted a course for the planet. As the asterisk Odyssey star asterisk turned toward its new destination, none of them could shake the feeling that they were stepping into the unknown. The mystery of the asterisk Aurora Dawn asterisk weighed heavily on their minds, but so did the hope of finding answers, or even allies, in the vastness of space. The journey to the coordinates took longer than expected, but the team tried to stay focused. Each day brought them closer to the planet, and with every passing hour, their nerves grew tighter. Alex spent most of his time checking and rechecking the ship's systems, making sure nothing would fail when they arrived. Mia pored over the encrypted files Laura had decoded, searching for any detail that might prepare them for what lay ahead. Daniel kept to himself, staring out the windows at the endless expanse of stars. Sometimes, he thought he saw shapes moving in the darkness, but when he blinked, they were gone. Finally, the planet came into view. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The surface shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and dance, like liquid light frozen in place. Towering structures made of crystal-like material rose from the ground, glowing faintly as if alive. Streams of energy flowed between them, creating patterns that pulsed in rhythm. "This place, it's beautiful," Mia whispered, her voice filled with awe. Even Alex, who rarely showed emotion, couldn't help but stare. As they landed, the air outside hummed softly, almost like a song. The team suited up and stepped onto the surface, their boots sinking slightly into the smooth, glassy terrain. Everything around them felt alive, responding subtly to their presence. When Alex touched one of the crystalline towers, it lit up brightly, sending ripples of color through the structure. "Careful," Laura said, glancing around nervously. "We don't know how this place works, or if it's safe." Before long, they spotted movement in the distance. At first, it was just a flicker, but soon shapes began to emerge. The beings were unlike anything they could have imagined. They were translucent, their forms shifting and flowing like water caught in sunlight. Yet there was intelligence in their movements, a grace that suggested purpose. One of them approached cautiously, its body glowing softly. It stopped a few feet away, tilting its head as if studying them. Laura stepped forward, raising her hand slowly to show she meant no harm. The being responded by extending a tendril-like arm toward her. When it touched her suit, she felt a strange sensation. Not pain, but warmth, followed by images flashing in her mind. Scenes of the Aurora Dawn *, its crew smiling and working together. Then darker visions, confusion, fear, and finally, abandonment. Tears welled up in Laura's eyes as she realized what the alien was trying to say. "They didn't mean to hurt anyone," she murmured to the others. "It was a misunderstanding." Mia knelt down, holding out her hand. Another being approached her, and she felt the same rush of emotions. This time, the images were clearer, humans and aliens working side by side, sharing knowledge and resources. But then came the breakdown. Miscommunication led to mistrust, and the humans retreated, leaving the aliens confused and saddened. "They wanted to help," Maya said, her voice trembling. "But we ruined it." Daniel hung back, watching the exchange warily. He still wasn't sure he trusted these creatures, no matter how peaceful they seemed. "How do we know this isn't a trick?" he asked, his tone sharp. "For all we know, they're hiding something." Alex shook his head. "Doesn't feel like a trap to me. Look at them. They're not attacking or threatening us. If anything, they seem sorry." He turned to Laura. "Can you ask them? See if they can explain what happened." Laura nodded and focused on the nearest being. She closed her eyes, concentrating on the feelings and images in her mind. Slowly, she began to piece together a message. "They want to make things right," she said after a moment. "They regret what happened with the Aurora Dawn *. They're offering us help, resources, technology, even guidance." But her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping in. "There's a catch. They need us to trust them completely." The team exchanged uneasy glances. Trust was a big ask, especially after everything they'd learned. Yet as they stood there, surrounded by the luminous beings and the breathtaking landscape, one thing became clear. Humanity's survival might depend on taking this leap of faith. The team gathered in a circle, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the alien structures around them. The air was thick with tension as they debated what to do next. Laura summarized what she had learned from the beings. They were offering help, advanced technology, resources, and even knowledge that could benefit humanity. But the aliens made it clear that their offer came with conditions. "They need us to trust them fully," Laura said, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. "They won't share anything unless we're willing to work together." Alex frowned, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. "Trust is easy to say, but how do we know this isn't some kind of trap? What if they're just using us?" He glanced at the shimmering forms of the aliens nearby, their movements calm and deliberate. Despite their peaceful demeanor, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to them than met the eye. Mia, on the other hand, seemed convinced. "Look at this place," she said, gesturing to the glowing towers and streams of energy flowing between them. This isn't destruction or greed. It's creation. These beings aren't like us. They don't want to take. They want to give. If we walk away, we might lose our only chance to save ourselves. Her words carried weight, but they also sparked doubt in the others. Daniel stayed quiet, his jaw clenched. He had been silent for most of the discussion, his mind racing with conflicting thoughts. On one hand, he wanted to believe the aliens meant well. On the other, the memories of past failures haunted him. What happens if we say yes, and something goes wrong? He asked finally, his voice low. We're not just risking ourselves. We're risking Earth. Can we really afford to gamble like that? Laura sighed, rubbing her temples. I don't think we have a choice. Humanity is already on the brink. Back home, people are starving, cities are drowning, and governments are too busy fighting each other to fix anything. If these beings can help us turn things around, isn't it worth the risk? The group fell silent, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Alex spoke up. There's something else we need to consider. He pointed to a nearby tower where remnants of Earth technology were embedded into its surface. Those pieces, they are from the asterisk Aurora Dawn asterisk. The aliens salvaged them after the crew died. Why would they do that? What did they learn from it? Mia stepped closer to examine the fragments. Maybe they were trying to understand us, she suggested. To learn our language, our tools, our way of thinking. If they've been studying us, then maybe they already know what we need. Daniel shook his head. Or maybe they're learning how to control us. We don't know what they're capable of. Despite the doubts, the team eventually agreed to accept the aliens' offer, but cautiously. They decided to ask for proof of their intentions before committing fully. Laura approached one of the beings again, focusing on forming a message in her mind. She conveyed their willingness to cooperate, but emphasized the need for transparency. The alien responded with a series of images: lush forests growing where deserts once stretched, clean oceans teeming with life, and humans working alongside the luminous beings to rebuild their world. It's a vision of hope, Laura explained when she returned to the group. They're showing us what could be possible if we work together. But she hesitated, her expression troubled. They also showed me something else. A warning. They said time is running out, not just for us, but for them too. Something bigger is coming, something neither of us can face alone. The weight of her words settled over the team. Whatever decision they made, it wouldn't just affect humanity. It would shape the future of two species. As they prepared to leave the planet and return to Earth, one thing was certain. The choice ahead would define who they were and who they could become. The journey back to Earth was quieter than the trip out. Each member of the team carried the weight of what they had seen and learned, replaying the aliens' offer in their minds. They debated endlessly about how humanity would react. Would people trust the message of hope or dismiss it as too good to be true? Alex spent hours running simulations on how the alien technology might integrate with Earth's systems, while Mia wrote detailed notes about the planet and its inhabitants. Laura, meanwhile, practiced how she would explain everything to Mission Control, knowing that words alone wouldn't capture the enormity of what they had experienced. When the Odyssey star finally entered Earth's atmosphere, the team braced themselves for the challenges ahead. News of their return had spread quickly, and cameras flashed as they stepped off the ship. Reporters shouted questions, but the group ignored them, heading straight for a secure briefing room at NASA headquarters. Inside, officials waited impatiently, their faces a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Laura took the lead, projecting images of the alien planet and playing recordings of her mental exchanges with the beings. She described their peaceful nature, their advanced technology, and their willingness to help. They aren't asking for anything in return, she emphasized, but they need us to trust them completely. If we refuse, we might lose our only chance to save ourselves. The room erupted into arguments. Some officials dismissed the idea outright, calling it reckless and dangerous. Others saw potential but worried about the political fallout. What happens if things go wrong? One man demanded. Who takes responsibility for bringing alien influence to Earth? Alex spoke up, his voice firm. We don't have time to sit around arguing. Look at the state of our planet. Floods, droughts, wars over resources. We're barely surviving as it is. These beings can help us fix that, but only if we take the first step. Mia added her perspective. They've already shown us proof. The symbols from the asterisk Aurora Dawn asterisk, the fragments of Earth tech they salvage. They've been studying us for years. They know who we are and what we're capable of. And despite everything, they still want to work with us. Despite the team's efforts, skepticism lingered. It wasn't until Daniel shared his own experience that the mood shifted. He had kept quiet during most of the mission, but now he stood up, his voice steady. I've been where you are right now, doubting every decision, afraid to trust anyone. But I've also seen what happens when we let fear control us. Back on the asterisk Aurora Dawn asterisk, fear destroyed them. Don't make the same mistake. His words struck a chord. Slowly, the officials began to nod, agreeing to present the aliens' offer to world leaders. Over the following weeks, the team became global ambassadors, traveling across continents to share their story. At first, public reaction was mixed. Some embraced the idea of working with the aliens, seeing it as a path to renewal. Others protested, fearing the unknown or accusing the team of lying. Amid the chaos, the aliens sent a gift, a small seed-like artifact glowing faintly with energy. Through Laura, they explained that planting it on Earth would begin a process of healing, restoring damaged ecosystems and purifying polluted air and water. However, they warned that the artifact required cooperation, not just among humans, but between humanity and the aliens, to function properly. As debates raged on, a movement began to grow. People started organizing cleanup projects, planting trees, and reducing waste, inspired by the promise of a better future. For the first time in years, there was a sense of unity, however fragile. The team watched it all unfold, knowing the road ahead would be difficult. Trust didn't come easily, especially when it involved the unknown. Still, as Mia held the glowing artifact in her hands, she felt a spark of hope. Humanity had taken the first step towards something greater. Whether they succeeded or failed depended on their ability to embrace change and each other. Months passed, and the world began to change. The alien artifact, planted in a remote valley surrounded by mountains, became a symbol of hope. At first, nothing seemed different, but slowly the land around it transformed. Barren soil turned rich and fertile, wildflowers bloomed in vibrant colors, and streams that had long dried up began to flow again. Scientists from every corner of the globe studied the phenomenon, but no one could fully explain how it worked. All they knew was that the artifact radiated energy, spreading life wherever it touched. The team stayed involved, guiding humanity through the early stages of this new partnership with the aliens. Alex worked tirelessly to adapt Earth's technology to work alongside the alien systems, ensuring the two could coexist without conflict. Mia traveled to universities and research centers, teaching people about the importance of preserving ecosystems and learning from the aliens' methods. Daniel, once haunted by his past failures, found purpose in helping communities prepare for the changes ahead. And Laura continued to act as a bridge between humans and the luminous beings, translating their messages and building trust. But not everyone welcomed the shift. Some governments resisted, fearing the loss of power or control. Others spread fear, claiming the aliens had hidden motives. Protests erupted in cities, with crowds shouting slogans like, "Stay human" or "No alien influence." Despite these challenges, the movement toward unity grew stronger. Ordinary people took matters into their own hands, planting trees, cleaning rivers, and sharing resources with neighbors. It was messy and imperfect, but it showed that humanity still had the capacity to come together. One evening, Maida stood on a hill overlooking the valley where the artifact rested. Its glow pulsed gently, casting soft light over the newly restored landscape. She held a small device in her hand, a gift from the aliens containing instructions for maintaining the balance between their technology and Earth's natural systems. As she gazed at the horizon, she felt a mix of emotions: pride, relief, and a lingering sense of responsibility. Laura joined her moments later, sitting quietly beside her. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Maya asked, breaking the silence. Laura smiled faintly. "We'll never know for sure. But I do know this: humanity has been given a second chance. What we do with it is up to us." Far below, Daniel watched as children played near the edge of a newly formed lake. Their laughter echoed through the valley, a sound he hadn't heard in years. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to feel hopeful. Maybe redemption wasn't just possible, it was happening right before his eyes. Back at Mission Control, Alex monitored data streaming in from the artifact. Everything pointed to positive growth: cleaner air, healthier crops, and even signs of endangered species returning to areas they'd abandoned decades ago. Yet he remained cautious, knowing that progress could be fragile. "This isn't the end," he muttered to himself. "It's just the beginning." As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the team reflected on their journey. They had faced fear, doubt, and uncertainty, but they had also witnessed courage, curiosity, and resilience. Humanity had answered the call, not just for survival, but for renewal. In the distance, the artifact pulsed one last time before dimming slightly, as if acknowledging the hard work ahead. Mia smiled, clutching the device tightly. Whatever challenges lay in the future, one thing was certain: humanity had finally taken its first step toward a brighter tomorrow.